as a member of host country and minister of host country, I would like to welcome and esteemed speakers and delegates who have participated in this event, particularly my friend, Minister of Environment from Denmark, Minister of Germany, the Special Water Envoy from Netherlands, Mr. Saroj Jha, Global Director for Water Practice in World Bank, and the representative of International Commission for Protection of the Danube River. The river Ganga, as we all are aware, and it was shown in this movie, that history of mankind and civilization was thrived on the banks of the river. Essentially, history of people-river connect. In India, rivers are not just considered as sacred, but also they are worshipped as mothers. Ganga, in particular, has special place in Indian context because it is considered as the most holy river and pristine river, and simultaneously it caters economically 43% of the population of the country and 23% of the geographical area of the country. Namami Gange mission was launched in 2014 because period over last centuries, the urbanization which was immersed on the bank of Ganges, that created a critical impact on the health of the water and health of the river and complete riverine ecosystem. Honorable Prime Minister Narendra Modi ji, when he became the Prime Minister in 2014, he took an initiative and this mission of Namami Gange was launched with the mandate and vision for achieving a Nirmal and Aviral Ganga, which refers to a cleaning of the river and ensuring its unrestricted flow. This will not just restore the sacred river's pristine glory, but also help the population to reconnect with its traditional roots. We had initially committed investment of $4 billion for the cause. It gives me immense pleasure to note that we are successful in creating robust sewage treatment infrastructure for more than 3,500 million liters daily across cities and towns on the banks of river Ganges. Clean water quality, which has been witnessed during the Kumbh. Kumbh is the biggest commemoration of the human commemoration on the earth, where almost 220 million people have witnessed, and they have participated in 2019 and 2021. In Prayagraj and Haridwar, where they have 200 million people have taken dip into the river Ganges and the water of Ganges in a period over 1.5 months, 45 days only. They have witnessed the change, enormous change in the quality of water. Restore and riverine ecosystem and its biodiversity, a prime indicator of health of a river and river water, bears testimony by the way of significant increase in biodiversity, sightings of the species such as Indo-Gangetic dolphins, turtles, otters, hilsa, and other species. It has been reported that river boats a rich biodiversity and that has increased enormously. Our efforts are just not being recognized by our people, but as it has been mentioned that it has been recognized in UN Biodiversity Conference in Montreal in December 2022, and it has been selected as one of the top 10 restoration initiatives of the world. Recognizing the fact that our efforts should definitely extend beyond mere creation of sewage and industrial effluent treatment plants to treat polluted water, and having focus on the holistic rejuvenation of the rivers and better river basin management, expanded to Jan Ganga. As we were talking in the previous session, that people's participation is the most critical factor, and you might have observed in this video also that how the people of the cities and the rural areas which are living on the banks of Ganges, they have come together, they have joined hands to get this for success of this mission and for restoration of this pristine river. So Jan Andolan, when it becomes people's movement, then all the challenges, how big those challenges are, they can be easily addressed. This eventually signifies whole of the government approach also. So Mission Ganga, all the ministries, stakeholder ministries, they have participated and they have contributed in that fashion. Today, millions of people are connecting and interacting with the rivers and essentially with the ecosystem. It has led to massive awareness about conservation of ecosystem. I do remember when I was participating in the Stockholm Water Week. I must mention here, on the inaugural day of a Stockholm Water Week in 2019, when the dinner was hosted by Hon'ble His Excellency King of Sweden. On that dinner, and the day on the dining table, which was shared by King and Queen of Sweden. The German minister was there, and the British minister was also there on that table, and myself was also privileged to be there on the part of that table. And then when the discussion was initiated by the King of Sweden that Danube, when it enters into into Sweden, and when it flows out, the quality of water, it improves. Similarly, that a minister of from Germany, he also mentioned about the quality of and restoration of River Rhine, where they have the project which they have taken up. In similar manner, the minister from Britain, they mentioned about the restoration projects of Thames River. She mentioned that earlier, when somebody used to dip in the fingers in the river Thames water and they pull out the fingers, the color of the fingers got changed. They are black. But now the river is restored. My question to everybody of them, that how much time it took. The Rhine restoration, it took almost 3 decades. The Thames restoration, similarly, that minister mentioned about 25, 27 years, and Danube also, it was the same period. I said the similar challenge we have accepted and we have successfully done in the period of 6 years. And our river is more interacted river. I was just kidding with the King of Sweden. The total number of population of the people living in Sweden, it is almost 10 million. And 10 million people daily take a dip in the river Ganges. And total number of people dies in Sweden in a year, equivalent to that, almost equivalent to that number, we cremate on the in the bank of river Ganges every day. Total number of cattle population of Sweden or Germany, I must say, equivalent to that cattle number, our cows and our buffaloes, they go and have a dip in that river, but still our river, we were able to restore the river on the pristine level which it earlier used to be. So it could happen only because of the people's participation and government's will that we have to do it, and we have successfully done it. But simultaneously, I must appreciate and I must acknowledge the international cooperation which we have received into that, and we were just talking about the partnership and importance of partnership in the previous session, which was organized by my Danish friend. That the cooperation what we have received from Denmark, Netherlands, European Union, Germany, everybody have shared their knowledge, their expertise, and that is why we were able to successfully complete this project. For future also, it is not limited up to the restoration of a river. Now we are taking it forward for, as this was shown in this video, that economically we have to connect our people with the river. Unless the common man's bread butter is get connected with the river and riverine ecosystem, then it cannot be, the bond cannot be stayed a longer time. So Honorable Prime Minister gave us a direction that now we have to work on Earth Ganga. Earth Ganga means economically connecting people, putting up across the river, across the length of the river. Economically, if they are connected, then it can be a long, we can harvest the long time of benefits. And that is the new future dimension what we have taken up. I urge all the participants everybody sitting here because everybody have their own experience. They can share their experiences and valuable feedbacks and thoughts to connect us in this great mission. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. It has been whole of government approach, and it has been made possible over all those last 6 to 8 years with the cooperation of our international stakeholders, who has been in this together with us in this onerous task. His Excellency Magnus Heunicke, Minister for Environment, Denmark, has joined us as a panelist. Mr. Magnus has served as a Danish Minister for Environment since December 2022, and previously he has served as Minister for Health and Senior Citizens and Minister for Transport. He has been Member of Parliament for Social Democratic Party since 2007. Our partnership with Denmark has been strategic partnership, very proactive. I'll invite the Honorable Minister for Environment from Denmark to reflect upon the partnerships that he enjoys with this great mission that we are carrying forward.
There must be a great round of applause because he was the responsible person who fought the pandemic at the time, during the pandemic time.
Sir.
Yeah, thank you very much for that. And thank you for inviting us and putting this on the agenda. I think it's clear now from the movie and from your introduction that this topic is of utmost importance for millions and millions of people every day, for their health, for the economy, for ecosystems, for the biodiversity, of course also for culture, history, religion, therefore it is enormous project we are talking about, but also it is the perfect example on how important water is. And I would like to talk about the cooperation between India and Denmark about sustainable and reliable water. And it is a great honor for Denmark to work together with India on the green agenda and on the important topic of water. Water is a source of life, but it is also essential for the quality of life for each and every one of us. That goes for people in India, people in Denmark, all across our planet. And that's why our partnership on water is about much more than technology. It's about more than just pipes and pumps. It's about cities, communities having access to clean water. And it is about making sure that we can grow crops in the future. It's about creating a world that is better, safer, more sustainable. In 2020, India and Denmark joined forces in our Green Strategic Partnership with water as one of the key pillars of the partnership. And by now we have seen cooperation on all levels between the public and the private sectors. And I would like to highlight two important strategic partnerships. One is the partnership between the Danish Ministry of Environment and the National Jal Jeevan Mission under the Ministry of Jal Shakti. The other is a partnership between the Danish city of Aarhus and the state of Rajasthan. Both partnerships are about creating good framework conditions and about sharing experiences and technologies so we can learn from each other. And there's no doubt that Denmark can learn a lot from India. India has its eyes set on the future. India has high ambitions for improving the water sector. India wants to ensure clean water for a growing population, and India wants to do it fast. In Denmark, we find the Indian vision and determination admirable, and we want to be a part of India's bright future. But what can Denmark offer India when it comes to water technology? Well, we may be a small country, but our experience with water technology is extensive. For decades, Denmark has worked hard on becoming a global frontrunner in this area by investing in new technology and adopting new regulation to improve our water sector. and it has paid off. Since the 1980s, our water consumption has fallen by around 40%. It is now just above 100 liters per capita per day, even though our economy has grown manifold during the same period. One of the reasons is that the water loss is kept at a minimum, with a non-revenue water level at around 5 to 7%. But we always aim to improve. Therefore, our next ambition is to make our water sector energy and climate neutral by 2030, and we are already well on our way. From all these years of working with water management, we have learned that 3 things are important to achieve results. First, we need the necessary technology. Then you need the right framework conditions. And last but not least, you need to form good partnerships. In Denmark, it is our experience that good cooperation is very important. The ability to work together between governments and businesses, between the public and the private sector, and especially between countries. So if you want to deliver on the promise made to the next generations, if you want to come up with new solutions and make our countries and communities more resilient against the effects of climate change, then we need to work together, to share our knowledge and to help each other develop new technologies. We in Denmark want to strengthen our ties with India further, and here we are immensely proud to be a partner country to the Jal Jeevan mission. We also take pride in the fact that under India's G20 presidency, Denmark has been invited to 2 working groups in the Sherpa track. This is the first time in Danish diplomatic history, and here Denmark can and will contribute with knowledge, expertise and inputs. The potential is endless, and there are so many incredible projects underway between Denmark and India, so many more future projects in the making, and I believe our partnership holds so much potential, not just for Denmark and India, but for the world. Because by continuing our work together, we can not only speed up the green transition, we can also inspire the rest of the world to take better care of our most precious resource, water. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for such an inspiring reflections. Form good new partnerships, develop new technologies, and that is one of the way to carry forward this mission. Thank you. Mr. G. Ashok Kumar, Director General of NMCG, National Mission for Clean Ganga, is with us. He is the man who is responsible for carrying this program forward with the visions of I request Mr. Ashok Kumar to present an overview of the Namami Gange program. Sir.
Thank you. Thank you, Mathurya. My greetings to Excellency Gajendra Singh Shekhawat, Minister of Jal Shakti, Government of India, His Highness Magnus Henneke, Minister for Environment and Work, and all the distinguished panelists and all the people and the distinguished guests who have come to this conference here. It's a great privilege for me to give an overview of one of the flagship programs of the Government of India, which has now incidentally become one of the flagship programs of the world. UN has recognized this, as Honourable Minister has mentioned in his speech. Continuing where Honourable Minister left off, I will speak on certain other key aspects of Namami Gange program. Our Minister mentioned about the key pillars of the national of the Namami Gange program, the overall Nirmal Ganga, which means the ensuring good water, the overall Ganga, which ensures continuous flow of water, Jan Ganga, the people connect, and the Gyan Ganga, the knowledge based on resources, on research, etc., which has been compiled over many years of experience. And the Ardh Ganga, which is meant to, it is a concept given by the Honourable Prime Minister for the River People Connect. Now, in the last years, 8 years, we have completed many projects, mainly in the Nirmal Ganga sector, because the first focus was to ensure no untreated water comes into the river. A total of 183 sewage projects were sanctioned,
and to create a capacity about 5,658 million liter per day treatment capacity, and to lay a sewage network about 5,206 kilometers, out of which 105 sewage projects to create a capacity of 2,175 million liter daily has been created, and almost 4,360 kilometers of sewage network has been laid. We also came out with innovative models like HAM model, hybrid annuity model, and the one city, one operator model, which has been appreciated all over the world, and World Bank is actually taking it up as as a role model for many other countries. So we also created good ambience for the environment and the biodiversity to develop, and these STPs could be completed, and the ambience could be created because of closer monitoring of the projects, and hence we could get cleaner river stretches. We got, as Minister was mentioning, a certificate from the dolphins. The number of dolphins have increased from about 300 to 3,300. The stretches of sighting dolphin in the river has increased, and the UN also has recognized us. This, I said, has achieved due to certain very important factors which came into the project. This is the first one being the whole of government approach. Prime Minister Narendra Modi was very insistent that onerous tasks like this requires cooperation of all the departments of the government. So various departments of the government were brought in, and the whole of the government approach was one of the key factors which made this possible. This called for convergence of funds, pooling of resources, financial, technical, wisdom, experience, manpower, etc. We had the second most important factor was the participation and involvement of people. As Honorable Minister mentioned, he wanted to make Jal Andolan a Jan Andolan. So men, women, youth, everybody got connected to this program. NGOs, international NGOs, faith-based organizations, because Ganga is a very important river as far as the Indian tradition culture is concerned. So the faith-based organizations also played an important part. Panchayat Raj institutions, those are the local body institutions, etc., were part of it. Corporate bodies, private entrepreneurs, private sector, startups, all were a part of this ecosystem. We also built capacity of institutions existing as well as new. We have started something called as a district Ganga committees. Every month we are having this meeting of this district committees, which meet under the leadership, under the chairmanship of the district magistrate, and talks about the projects to be taken up under the project. And also, we in fact try to build capacity of the vendors, to improve the quality, to improve the labor, the conditions of the labor in the working sites, etc. We also had developed financial capacity of the financial institutions to understand this complex project. So that's why funding had been easy for us. We also encouraged innovations. As I said, HAM model was one innovation. We also helped encourage use of technology. We also encourage very close monitoring and better communications, improve transparency and accountability, and quick completion of projects. These were the main factors which resulted in the results which Honorable Minister mentioned that we could achieve in 10 years or 8 years, what other countries took many years to achieve. In the last 1.5 years, there's a paradigm shift from pipes and pumps, as Honorable Minister from Denmark mentioned, to soft connect to the people who are part of the Ganga, who are living on the basin of Ganga, and using them as a stakeholder and as a growth, as a partner in the development process. So Art Ganga was the concept given by the Honorable Prime Minister, and you saw the video where all the 6 pillars were very clearly set up. We also started encouraging natural farming in a big way, millet farming in a big way, because we found that a lot of chemical fertilizers were getting leached into the river when the rainwater comes in. So natural farming has been taken up in a big way. Millet farming particularly is being promoted. We have also taken up fisheries. We are river ranching. You saw in the video how the native fishes are being ranched in the river so that the number increases, and that will increase the river people connect, because a lot of people who are living off the river with catching fish, they are getting now better catches from the river. We also have developed livelihood models where local products are being sold by the volunteers who have been serving and helping the river rejuvenation. This is under the concept of Ardhganga. We have started what you call as the Jalaj model. Jalaj model is actually to set up the NGOs who are working in the area, volunteers. They take up a lot of activities, innovative activities like acting as tourist guides, because the Ganga as basin has a lot of tourist sites. So many of them are acting as tourist guides. They are doing small river cruises. They are also selling local products. They're also even rescuing the dolphins and the other scheduled species get entangled in the nets. So that is being done. And also we have the very important and very innovative initiative of River City Alliance. We are now tied up with 107 cities on the banks of the river to take up common planning, urban river management planning, and also we have exchange of information and ideas. So this is a new initiative which was taken up under the leadership of the Honourable Minister, and 107 cities have joined us, and we are now trying to expand it to an international audience so that there could be a twinning of rivers as well as twinning of cities. And then lastly, we also have to thank the international support and organization who have been giving technological support to us. Denmark has been one of our very close partners. Germany has been one of the close partners. Indo-European Water Partnership has helped us a lot. So a lot of international partnership has also helped us in tackling this huge problem which was considered impossible to be done. So we have showed it is possible, and now we are on the track of seeing that it is sustained with people's participation. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Innovations, governance-based performance-linked initiatives, natural farming, fisheries, twinning of rivers, twinning of cities, you name it, and the component is there in this program. So it is a vast program. And when we talk of innovations, we talk of global best practices. We have World Bank as our partner, who through the consultations that we hold with the World Bank, we've been able to innovate and introduce many good practices, be it for the infrastructure development projects or otherwise also. So Mr. Saroj Jha, who is Global Director, Water Global Practice, World Bank, is among us. Mr. Jha supports an integrated approach to water security and inclusive service delivery, accelerate climate action and food security through Bank's global water strategy, and provides policy advice and operational support in response to specific country needs. This is an occasion for me to invite Mr. Jha to present the Bank's vision and the support that has been extended to the Namami Gange mission. Sir.
Thank you very much, Mr. Moderator, sir. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, first of all, it's really a privilege for me to be part of this panel. First, because I'm one of those citizens living in the basin of the river Ganges, and I've seen how it has impacted the lives of people. So you're hearing from somebody who lives, and I belong to that region. And second, also the World Bank's partnership with India on this very inspirational story. And I've been following this very closely. I started by this assignment only in the fall 22, but World Bank-India partnership on Namami Gange has been truly an example for the World Bank itself. And as many speakers have mentioned before, we are looking at this partnership essentially providing new ideas, informing the work around the world. So I'll focus my intervention on 2 points. First, what did we actually learn from India, our work in India? And what is World Bank's vision going forward on this massive challenge of what I would call river basin management, cleanup, reviving the ecosystem, which is pretty much, if you see the UN conference this week, everyone is talking about taking a landscape approach, reviving the ecosystem, looking at landscapes, and so on and so forth. So we'll talk about that. First, in terms of our work in India, clearly India has provided the leadership. India provided, I would say, a very comprehensive institutional framework, as you saw in various presentations, because it takes really all the components of the government at different levels to really come together It has to be absolutely participatory. So I think that is clearly an innovation in how World Bank will look at doing similar initiatives in other parts of the world. The second is innovation in terms of financing. This is also perhaps the first time ever in a river basin project where we, together with the government of India, came up with this innovation, what is called hybrid annuity model, which essentially helps government with initial funding from their side to really attract long-term project financing, and which is paid over a period of time through the what we call citywide inclusive sanitation, where no one is left behind, everybody is connected to the network. And I think both these components of bringing private sector into the whole Namami Gange program through hybrid annuity model, which is a public-private partnership, is clearly an innovation. In fact, in my last 3 days in several bilaterals in the meet with the minister from Indonesia, from Philippines, from Senegal, from Kenya, we've been talking about actually this Indian experience in every meeting I go to, and I'll talk about my vision a bit later. The other innovation, which is also not many countries are aware of, is that World Bank is, of course, a source of knowledge. It's a source of financing, cash, but it's also essentially a provider of what we call credit enhancement. Because of our credit rating, we can offer credit enhancement products, which allows government to actually attract private capital at much more competitive terms. And in the second phase of Ganga 2 project, the World Bank credit enhancement, what we call World Bank guarantee, is being used, which allows basically government to provide that guarantee of payment to the developers, investors coming into the program. So I think this is an ongoing work in India, and is really an exemplary work, and very clear from the presentation and also the recognition that India has received that the rest of the world can really learn quite a lot from India. The challenge, of course, is going to be how do you transfer Indian knowledge and Indian good practices in other countries in the region, in the world. First, I find that the capacity for countries to adapt, adopt, and embrace these kind of practices is not there in many countries. It requires essentially a comprehensive institutional framework backed up, first of all, strong political leadership. We need the institutional framework. We need, of course, strong commitments from the government through the Ministry of Finance to provide the funding for such a program, which is not easy, and we don't see that coming in many countries. But it's going to be challenging, but I think we would like to offer to India a sustained partnership to be able to take these lessons to other parts of the world. Let me, in the second part and my final intervention, mention how I see from a World Bank perspective our work going forward. Generally, if you look at worldwide today, what we see is that most of the river systems around the world, particularly in developing countries, are highly polluted. The rivers cannot breathe. Rivers are becoming dead. Rivers have disappeared from where they used to exist because of several reasons: pollution, construction, a lack of planning, lack of, I would say, adequate planning in terms of how we manage our ecosystem. And as a result, of course, you have flooding, you have all kinds of other challenges. How we would like to see is that we offer a comprehensive package of program to the governments as part of their national water resource management strategy to really focus on river basin development, protection, management over a period of time. And the good news is that, at least at this time, and I was WhatsApping with my colleague, as to how many countries in the world today are working with us on similar programs. I mean, one I know of China, of course, Yangtze 1 and Yangtze 2 are two very large programs that the currently World Bank is preparing, which has kind of taken a similar approach, but it is still under implementation, very early days. And as you know, Yangtze is the longest river in Asia, 6,700 kilometers. And this is an ongoing work. And we are really trying to see how can we basically import our lessons and experiences from India into our work in China and Vietnam, Indonesia, Argentina, Colombia, and many other countries in the world. So clearly the way World Bank would like to see this going forward is that as part of our focus on water resource management for climate adaptation, for building resilience, we will focus on a large number of river basins around the world based on the model that we have from India. The second point I wanted to make is that the importance of integrated water resource management in the countries. And what we are seeing essentially is that water is quite fragmented in the way governments are managing it in countries around the world. You have different ministries, agencies looking at irrigation, water supply and sanitation, and so on and so forth. India offers quite a unique model in terms of how different components of water are integrated under one ministry, and then you have different agencies working on this. And I have talked about this in many of my meetings with the governments in the last few days. But when it comes to our vision going forward, what we would like to see is that as part of institutional and sectoral reforms, to be able to take these initiatives, there has to be a very clear focus on different components of water, which is water supply and sanitation, irrigation, water resource management. And all of this will require a comprehensive thinking about the river basin management itself, because without which it will not be possible for governments to be able to store water, to be able to prevent floods, to be able to cope with the droughts, and to be able to, of course, provide the economy around the rivers that many speakers have mentioned before. So I think there's so much work to be done, and India does offer a very good model in terms of how World Bank can take that work forward in countries around the world. In closing, I have to say that for the World Bank, it's really been a privilege to be part of this success story, and we have provided some financing, but I think we have learned much more than what we have provided to you, and I think that is going to stay with us as part of our work around the world. But thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. New initiatives, new ideas, that has been at the core of this program. Mr. Hank Ovink, who is Special Envoy for International Water Affairs, Kingdom of Netherlands, and the Sherpa for the UN 2023 Water Conference, is with us. As Ambassador for Water, he is continuously advocating water awareness around the world, building institutional capacities and others. I invite Mr. Hank Ovink to deliberate on his reflections on the Indo-Dutch collaborations and the roadmap ahead.
Thank you so much, Chair. Honorable Minister, thanks, Sarosh. Pretty sure you know more or less what I would try to say. There are many things that I would like to say, but I won't be able to say them all. But first, the congratulations to the Namami Gange for the recent award received from UNEP in Canada. December 22 is one of the top 10 world restoration flagships to revive the natural world. Just as a small note, one of our own initiatives, Building with Nature to Restore Mangroves in the eroded coast of North Java and Indonesia, is also in the top 10. So it shows the shared part of values, I think, which is so important. It indicates perhaps a bit where the core of this conference is about. We're gathered here together with thousands of people and their organizations in the midst of an acknowledgement that we're in a water crisis, that we share the understanding, at least of the magnitude of the crisis, but we still explore what that crisis really is about. And at the same time, we also feel challenged by that water crisis because we not always know what to do. But we do know that water is helpful, that it is a way, by investing in water, that we can add value. Beyond de-risking our societies, it's exactly water that gives life back to us. And rivers are a celebration of that. And I would say the Ganges is one of those iconic but also vital streams in society that help us understand the importance on how we deal with that critical resource. The Ganges also shows us how vulnerable water can be in the context of our growing societies, and that if we invest in that river and that resource, we can survive. I think in that sense, the Namami Gange and the mission for a clean Ganga that is led so well by you, Honorable Minister, and your team, is giving us an inspirational story on how to change course. And as a co-host of this, I would say, overwhelming conference a bit, in the midst of this water crisis, as an opportunity to come together, but also as a spotlight on how we fail as a world currently dealing with this crisis. I think the Clean Ganga mission, the mission of India, and the way it deals with water are a beacon of hope. By putting water central to our work, we can achieve a healthy environment, justice in our society, opportunities for women and girls, an environment that is building resiliency. We can curb biodiversity loss, get again on track for climate change, ensure resiliency to that, and also forge partnerships, because rivers don't care where we put our borders. They flow where they want to flow. If we follow the river and our hearts, if we follow our minds in our understanding, and put our feet perhaps in the boats, or in the water, which I like to do often, if we touch base in those geographies rivers tell us, I think partnerships can really drive the capacity that we need. And I think that's a message that is coming from this conference to the world, is that at the heart of water is where our hearts are, where partnerships can flourish beyond the institutions that we created. And rethinking water and water partnerships can really help us overcome that. I take a lot of inspiration in the partnership that we have with India, the government of the Netherlands, in the many ways, institutionalized in memorandums of understanding, but also in amazing innovative programs like Water as Leverage, that started in Chennai and is now traveling along the Ganges, seeking its way through India and Bangladesh, all the way across oceans to Indonesia, as well as to Colombia, the Netherlands, Denmark, the minister just left, and Germany. There are many opportunities if we follow water. It's a journey that we all have to take. And I think, I hope, I have to check this. I'm sorry, I have to. Well, we have 23 hours and 45 minutes left until the closing of this conference. So that's less than a day. And as a co-host of that conference, that feels like a nightmare and a dream.
Dream come true.
Yeah. But I'm pretty sure that after those a little less than 24 hours, the work is going to start. That is when we have to pick up speed. That is when we have to scale up our efforts. That is when we have to replicate the amazing examples that we've seen here today and yesterday. And I'm pretty sure that in the partnership that India shares with so many countries and so many organizations on working on the Ganges and the many other projects, that scaling and replication can really help us on water security in a just, resilient, and sustainable way. So I look forward to that journey together through water, and look forward to also see that message back again after tomorrow. Thank you.
Thank you. Water is definitely in center of planning and management through, among others, forging of right partnerships. And another important partner, global partner, is Germany. A long partner, in fact. Dr. Tanja H. Wowick, Deputy Director General at German Federal Ministry for Economic Cooperation and Development. She's here. We'll like her to reflect upon Indo-German collaboration, which has been long going on, and also reflect on the road map ahead. Please.
Thank you so much, and good afternoon. Hank, you made it very difficult for me to speak now, because I could sign everything you just already said. So, and this is, I think, the spirit of this conference. And when I listen to this amazing project, I hesitate what impresses me the most. Of course, the result of this wonderful long river, which has to be renaturated, people helping in coalition, this is so impressive. And we just heard how many of these wonderful rivers we have worldwide, and that we are interconnected, all countries, with the evaporation of these rivers. So we are interconnected with all these kinds of water flows. But to be honest, and India is the G20 presidency for the time being, what impresses me most is the whole of government approach. And this brings me to a message which I think is very important also for this conference. We are asking for a special envoy for the water issue. Why? Because we are not capable, really, to have a whole of UN approach, a whole of government approach, and this is what we are lacking. So we can do so many things in this world. Why can't we overcome this kind of systematically organizational problem? And this is why it came to my mind to talk about coalition, whole of government, whole of UN system, whole of whatever approach. We see this in other areas as well. We are working in the social protection floor with the UN and the World Bank. So this is a nightmare in a way. But we need these kind of coalitions. Otherwise, nothing will change. And this is what I take away from you today. Nothing will change, however, whatever financing we put into it. The second is about leadership. And this amazing project is a kind of leadership worldwide, that governments decide to do these kind of big projects. There was a chance to fail, I think, many times, but you succeeded. And what comes to my mind to come compared with India from a small country, it's about scaling up. These kind of huge countries are comparable, so important for the world's development, that we can see you can scale up. And this is bold, and this, I think, is a kind of really a light at the end of the tunnel. It is possible, but we have to change our cooperation at all levels of governance. So I'm happy that you have several proposals for the Water Action Agenda. We are part of supporting this, and I think these are these kind of steps of leadership we need now, a strong agenda and a bold envoy who is advocating for a system-wide approach in cooperation. Thank you.
Thank you. I think this is a takeaway for all of us, that now we need to think beyond whole of the government approach. Now we have to think as a whole of the world approach as far as the water is so critical. And everybody of us in this conference, whoever is attending in whatever position, we all are aware that water is so critical for not only for us, for the future generations. We have just come across and we have come over out of the century's biggest pandemic. And that pandemic have shown all of us that how to fight together. And I feel, and my opinion is, that water crisis is even more challenging than that pandemic. Because it is not going to impact us only, but it is going to impact the generations of the future. So it is beyond the government, it is whole of the world approach which is required, and we have to come together and work in unison. That is only the way to provide sustainability for the future generations. That is the important thing.
Yes, sir, thank you. In fact, that is true also. The stress on water resources is being felt in those river basins which have never felt that kind of stress. And Europe is in particular an example. So we have Miss Birgit Vogel, who is Executive Secretary of International Commission for Protection of Danube and Rhine. She has also previously worked for the Secretariat of Mekong River Commission, and she's a strong votary for integrated river basin management, and also looks into the transboundary issues. So may I now invite Ms. Vogel to share her experiences on similar kind of initiatives in Danube River. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Maturia, for giving me the floor. Honorable Minister, thank you for having me on this panel. And I have to say, so many good and meaningful takeaways already. So I hope that I can add up to this, also having the Ganga in my heart, of course, beside the Danubes. In the beginning of my statement, I want to say that large river basins like the Ganga and also the Danube have different geographical and climatic conditions, different histories, different socioeconomic situations. The biotic and abiotic characteristics are very different. However, I want to emphasize as well that similarities and correlations between our and other basins, including the Ganga, are also very obvious. And we have to make positively use of this, and I will come to this in a bit. In most parts of the world, riparian countries of shared basins cooperate under international treaties, under conventions for achieving sustainability, to use water in an equitable manner, and to achieve joint aims to actually protect water quality and water quantity. In most basins, there are river basins organizations like the Namami Ganga and like the Danube Commission responsible to facilitate cooperation. In this case, this is definitely the case for the Ganga, it's the case for the Danube, for the Mekong, for the Okavango. These are all river basin organizations. The International Commission for the Protection of the Danube River is in a regular exchange. I mentioned differences and correlations in river basins. And actually these differences and similarities are the general basis for exchange and relationships between river basin organizations. But why is it so important to exchange on experiences between river basin organizations? There are many reasons which all serve a different purpose. For example, we all want to have functioning institutional setups and cooperation mechanisms in place. We want to improve river basin management and related approaches. We want to tackle climate change, a huge and increasing challenge when we speak about water quantity and droughts. And then it's important to take effective actions to improve the situations in river basins and, of course, to foster cooperation, to prevent tensions and conflicts over water, no matter if it's about quality or quantity. Exchange actions are proactively taking place, that's a fact, regarding experience on shared and different challenges. It's about learning from each other, how to tackle challenges in river basins and on transboundary cooperation, how to transform ineffective approaches and actions into functioning ones. Further, it's also important to cooperate and exchange on new topics where our experience might not be so high. Let me move a little bit from the theory to practice and give some applied examples. I start with the development of river basin management plans that are key tools in river basins, and they are actually commitments themselves if they are being implemented. Together with the Ministry of Jal Shakti, other Indian authorities, and the National Mission for Clean Ganga, and under the India-EU Water Partnership, together with the Indo-German cooperation, a river basin management plan has been developed for the Indian Tapi River Basin that is shared between 3 states. The Tapi River Basin Management Plan is actually based on the approaches of the Danube River Basin and based on the approaches of the EU Water Framework Directive and merged with the Indian approaches in water resources management. So, like in the Danube River Basin, 5 key water management issues have been identified, and they are very similar to the ones in the Danube, tackling pollution, alteration of hydrology and quantity, groundwater quality and quantity, and also negative effects that come from sand mining. It is now understood in the entire Tapi River Basin where possible impacts on quality and quantity are actually taking place, and these impacts are being addressed with a joint program of measures to improve the situation. The Tapi plan has been adopted by the Indian authorities in October 2020 and is supposed to be reviewed every 6 years. And the National Mission for Clean Ganga actually took the approach up and is testing it in a sub-basin of the Ganga River Basin for potential future upscaling. So this was an example I wanted to give on a constructive exchange based on both-sided experience that actually aims at transformation and improved actions. Previously, I also mentioned emerging topics that we are all struggling with. I'm speaking about climate change, and in particular the topic of droughts and water scarcity and low water levels. These, as I said already, are really topics we all have to find solutions for and not wait any longer, so we need to take action. The Danube River Basin has been facing increased temperatures since 30 years, and the heat waves and lack of precipitation last summer in the year 2022 was an eye-opener because the Danube River Basin has been significantly affected by droughts. Drought is a topic where the Danube and the ICPDR actually does not have so much experience, and therefore we are looking at Asia, we are also looking at Africa, of course, and we have to go beyond the EU territory in order to gain experience and to aim to fulfill environmental aims and also other topics to enable a functioning economy. I could give more examples, but time is actually a limitation. In summary, I would like to reiterate that the exchange of sharing experience between river basin organizations is of key importance. Personally, I think that a regular exchange can accelerate actions. The wheel does not always have to be reinvented, in particular with those topics that we know are working, but it can be a booster for emerging topics if we exchange on a regular level. And with this, I want to conclude my statement, and I would like to thank you for your attention.
So,
Thank you, Ms. Birgit.
At least for the fighting with the droughts, I personally, we have expertise because I come from the western part of the country. And in my area, 60 years out of last 75 years, we have observed the droughts. So I think we can share knowledge of that.
So we are running too short of time, sir, and we have come to the close. There is a small coffee table book which has been published by Council on Energy, Environment and Water. Dr. Arunabha Ghosh, who is CEO of CEW and member Global Commission on Economics and Water, is there. I'll request him to present a small overview in 1 minute, and then we can launch this book.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Mathuria. Your Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, namaskar and good afternoon. I'm Arunabha Ghosh, the CEO of the Council on Energy, Environment and Water, which is an independent think tank ranked amongst the 20 best climate think tanks in the world. I also thank the Permanent Mission of India to the United Nations for inviting us to present our latest book, Ripples, India's Sustainable Water Management Story, here at the UN Water Conference 2023. This book covers the ongoing efforts of the Government of India to manage water in sustainable and equitable ways and provides a snapshot of major policies, schemes and missions that India has adopted over the last 2 decades. The book is organized around 7 themes and 17 national programs, Namami Gange being just one of them. The themes are, for instance, water, sanitation and hygiene, which includes Swachh Bharat, water data and information, water harvesting, water conservation and river rejuvenation, climate proofing, water use efficiency, and groundwater management. For each scheme, the book outlines the objectives, the financial allocation, the implementation, the achievements, the jobs potential, the hundreds of millions of person days of jobs created, the growth opportunities, the tens of billions of dollars invested, and of course the contribution to sustainable development at scale. And considering that with only 4% of the world's renewable freshwater resources, India is trying to provide water security to 18% of the world's population, I hope the book will be a window into how India is managing its water resources. This book can serve as a handy reference for national and international stakeholders to glean insights from India's water management efforts. We have titled the book Ripples because it is with a series of small and large steps of government and community action that we can witness waves of transformation. With this, I humbly request Hon'ble Minister, Ministry of Jal Shakti, Sh Gajendra Singh Shekhawat, to release the book, please.
Thank you, sir. And with this, we come to the close. I thank all the dignitaries, excellencies, to having been part of this panel and providing their statements and views on this effort to rejuvenate this great river basin, the river Ganges. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Emerged on the bank